Guys, this is what happens when we have an URBONUS episode without Donatas, and also when we have a break from EuroLeague basketball. We start the podcast discussing Rytis's mustache.
But how many times it has happened this season, like URBONUS without Donatas, actually?
Well, the man
a lot of times.
Too many times. I would say too many times.
But he needs some rest. He has some well-deserved holiday right now. He's with his family. Where is he actually? I didn't ask where he's going.
South of Spain.
Oh, okay. Because he was posting stories of being in the daylight when it was already nighttime in Lithuania. Maybe he was just delayed posting. So.
He's delayed posting somewhere around Malaga.
Okay, nice. And I feel like he's using our ChatGPT to check where to visit, because I've seen what to do in Malaga threads in our ChatGPT account.
Really?
But, yeah. But anyways, we are in that period where there's domestic cups, there's the NBA All-Star break. There's some of these domestic cups are already finished, actually, like the Israeli one. Some of them are going to happen this weekend, like the Lithuanian one. Some of them are midway through, like some in the Balkan area. And I know, Augustas, you are going on a holiday very, very soon.
Yes.
Do you guys see this as sort of a little bit of a break from basketball in the middle of the season? We also have the FIBA window where we won't have the EuroLeague games. Are you gonna take some time off basketball, not watch anything what's going on, or?
For sure. I don't know about Rytis because he's probably going to do football broadcast, but me personally,
I do it all the time, but
Yeah, you are not going to have a break, right?
No, not gonna have a break from work in general, but from basketball probably yes, because I'm not that into domestic cups, and EuroLeague is my bread and butter, so I'm probably gonna spend at least a couple of weeks without any basketball broadcasts.
What about the All-Star game, the most entertaining game of basketball?
Well, I will have to cover that, but I don't see it as a basketball game. It's more of an event.
I don't even know the format, to be honest, this season.
There's something new with 3 teams.
Three teams bullshit, something like that.
Look, we have a Lithuanian guy in a dunk contest, so at least we can get excited about that, because the dunk contest hasn't been relevant for a long, long time.
And it won't be even this year. It's just for us.
To the whole world, it won't be, because it's still some rookies showing up in the dunk contest. But for us, it's something nice to have that Matas Buzelis will participate this year. So that's it about my schedule about basketball. I'm gonna definitely take a break. Usually, I take a couple of weeks off after the EuroLeague regular season. But since EuroLeague implemented the play-in format, probably I'm not gonna have a spring break either. So I'm gonna wait till the summer and then I will chill.
Wow.
Well, I will definitely not be watching the FIBA qualifier window, which we'll talk about as well, because there are some teams, some big teams that are hanging on some. Let's say they have a chance not to qualify to the EuroBasket in 2025. So they have some wins they have to get. So we'll talk about those teams. We'll also talk about some side topics like Patrick Beverley parting ways with Hapoel Tel Aviv. Also, Vasilij Micic has made a statement. But we have to start with something else. We have to start with the EuroLeague return of Daniel Theis. And he's returning to Monaco, surprisingly, after 8 seasons in the NBA. He was waived by the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now he's back in the EuroLeague. If you remember, he was playing for Brose Basket back in 2017. And Monaco is his destination, although there were some more lucrative financial offers from Panathinaikos, Athens, and an undisclosed mid-table EuroLeague team that I didn't ask Donatas about because he was the one writing this article. He knows what that team is. He didn't tell us, but there were 2 offers that were better, but Daniel Theis chose Monaco. What were your reactions?
Well, first of all, we are not sure how much better those offers were. Monaco is a good place for athletes to live. Also, the taxes are quite friendly. So if the difference is 100K or 200K, I don't think that is the determining factor. Other than that, maybe Daniel Theis was excited about Project Spanulis. Maybe they promised him something interesting. It's nice to have him back in Europe, first of all. I thought that he might sign in the NBA. the LA Lakers needed a big guy. Some other teams competing for playoffs needed an extra man in the rotation, but maybe he just didn't want to be a backup to a backup playing 8 minutes or not playing at all in the playoffs. So he chose Europe. He chose a team that is competing to be in a Final Four. You will play for titles. Actually, Monaco, once they signed all the players before the season, we were talking about the fact they don't really have a mobile center who could play the fourth quarter and switch on defense, guard the perimeter. They had Dante Hall in the previous years. They had John Brown in the previous years. Now we saw a team with 3 bigs, Dimo, Papagiannis, and Gytis. So signing Daniel Theis makes sense from that perspective. He's the one who's going to close games, who's going to be there in the fourth quarters. You can trust him defensively. On offense, he can knock down an occasional mid-range jump shot or a free. He can grab a couple of offensive rebounds. He's a very experienced, smart player. But also, I'm thinking maybe based on matchups against certain teams, he could play as a 4. Who knows? Because right now, you're probably going to sacrifice one of your centers in the EuroLeague rotation, because it doesn't make sense to have 4 centers. Whether it's Dimo, whether it's Gytis, Spanoulis will have to make some decisions. But I have an idea that maybe he could play as a 4 against certain opponents. I'm not saying that's going to be his primary position.
Yeah, a couple of minutes, maybe it will be interesting to see. But I remember just times when couple of years ago, we were shocked when teams signed 3 really different centers, and we were like, "Why do you need 3 centers? It's such a waste of money." It got to a certain point where it became a trend. So now, almost every EuroLeague team has 3 different centers, and now we see Monaco signing a 4th center just because of what they need in the fourth quarter and the reasons Rytis just mentioned. So I think it's kind of funny, but some minutes are going to get very, very limited. Donatas Motiejūnas started the season playing under Sasha Obradovic both 4 and 5 positions. He averaged 18, 19 minutes. Now under Spanoulis, he's playing 14 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. And in the last 4 games, 3 times he did not exceed the single-digit minutes. So I'm really interested to see who is going to get really at the end of the bench and out of these 4 centers, but I think it's a great addition for Monaco, and what they needed, and now you can actually say that definitely they are one of the contenders this season for the title. It's up for them to actually figure out how they play with Theis, and I mean they have everything to compete for the title, and in the Final Four, when it's one game, they can definitely, try to beat anybody.
Is it even a question whether he's a starting center for Monaco now?
I think he's a closing center. You don't need.
It doesn't matter in the EuroLeague.
The games with.
Let's say the center who will play the most minutes then.
Not necessarily, but I think he's going to be the one who's closing games.
The most important one.
The most
you
important
can say that.
piece. And the very important fact is that he's experienced. He played in EuroLeague. He played in FIBA competitions just recently. He doesn't need to adjust to anything. He knows everything. It won't be hard for him to play in the EuroLeague after 8 years in the NBA. And I actually have a question for your basketball mind, Augustas. Do you think that Nick Calathes and Daniel Theis could potentially be the best point guard center switching duo on defense? Because when we talk about switches, we always emphasize the big guy, but it's just as important to have a tall guard who can switch and who can hold his ground in the paint. So I think Nick is great at that. So what do you think about this?
Immediately
Thomas Walkup,
popped up to my mind.
But do Olympiacos have a big that can switch as effectively as Theis?
Probably not, but Mustafa Fall is doing a lot more switching this season. And Olympiacos in general doing a lot more switching with him. Not.
I mean, he's great with his size. I'm not saying
definitely not an issue. Definitely not as good as Theis, but he is bigger, so it's a little bit harder to actually shoot over him than to shoot over Theis. So I think Walkup has a slight advantage
over
against Nick, but Theis has advantage against Mustafa Fall. So it's
50-50.
Yeah,
All right.
but it's at the top.
I
yeah,
think
definitely tier 1.
I think Nick's defense sometimes is a bit underrated because people just focus so much on his passing abilities
and the way that he can't really shoot.
Well,
yeah,
I'm trying to focus on the positives.
Focus on the negatives of him.
And sometimes, yeah, you want to talk about the negative side, but if we talk about the positives, if you ask somebody what are Nick's biggest strengths, people will immediately just say passing.
Passing and defense, for sure.
Yeah,
I think,
and I think defense sometimes doesn't get mentioned enough. And defense is not just one-on-one guarding your man, although he did an amazing job, let's say, last year against Mike James in the series.
I wanted to emphasize
also
exactly
switching
that.
Against a big guy. Nick Calathes is strong and smart, so yeah.
And also, I wanted to add, in terms of Theis' ability to fulfill his role as a man who doesn't need a spotlight to be on him in his career so far, he's always been with a, let's say, ball-dominant guards. Of course, in the NBA, the list of players he played with who are superstars is endless, but also with Dennis Schroeder in the national team, and now he'll have Mike James, Elio Kobo, Nick Calathes. All these three guys are the guys to use his hard screens, also use his rebounding on defense, on offense. Also, he's not a bad rim protector, actually, for his size.
Yeah.
He's averaging like 1 block a game, at least. I think it was in the FIBA World Cup, in the Olympics. Also, he was averaging something above 1 block in his career in the NBA as well.
He has very good timing. Like he times his jump very, very accurately, if you get what I'm saying.
He has the smell.
That's
you know
that's what makes him a good shot blocker. I know what you're trying to say.
The
like,
instincts,
look, English is
whatever.
not our native language, so sorry about that. But
the
you get what I'm saying, right?
No,
that's
I
what
do.
makes him a good shot
Yeah.
blocker, because it's not his size that makes him a good shot blocker. It's reading the game and good timing. And actually, I don't want to brag, but in 2016-17 season, when he had a really, really great game against Zalgiris, and I was commentating that game, I remember I said, this guy, Daniel Theis, looks like a perfect modern center in European basketball. And season after that, he went to the NBA. And I think he's coming back with still plenty to offer. He's a veteran right now, but I don't think he's in some rapid decline or anything like that. We saw what he can produce for the German national team. So
I would compare.
I'd say it's an exciting
his situation with Serge Ibaka, who also came back for a bigger role, more playing time to actually play basketball, not to be on the bench, and also had the similar, like, let's say, role in the NBA to stretch the floor, protect the rim, get the rebounds. I think we're getting someone who's a few years younger than Serge Ibaka. I feel like he's going to have a bigger impact. And
he's younger than me. Daniel Theis is younger than me.
But it was interesting because
He's just 32 years old.
Yeah, Theis mentioned that he came back to Europe because he wanted a bigger role, and he got other offers. Panathinaikos definitely had an offer for him. Like, they are in this situation where they definitely need a center. Although Ataman mentioned like 3 weeks ago that we are okay, we are continuing with this.
But 3 weeks ago, he was not on the market.
Yeah, exactly. For sure, they went after him. And Theis, now would have had a huge role in Panathinaikos. But maybe he's looking long-term because, when Matthias Lessort comes back,
that's what I think.
it's a different ball game. And so that's why I think he chose Monaco. And my guess that third team you mentioned, mid-table team that we're looking for a center is probably Barcelona. I would, if I had to guess.
Makes sense. Vesely is out for 8 weeks.
Exactly.
And the coach is not really trusting Vili. So
he was out of the rotation.
Yeah.
The top 10 paid player in the EuroLeague was out of their rotation because of, everybody knows of what, because of the defense. And they are not in a great spot in the EuroLeague or ACB, so they definitely need a center. I kind of, it would make sense.
And I think Monaco has proven in the 3 years they've been in the EuroLeague, or is it 4 years, that they are a good organization for a player to, let's say, have a long-term vision, because you can see that they are always trying to keep the core of the players together.
Yeah.
Like Demo, Mike James, they have been here from the very beginning, from the very first season in the EuroLeague, some other guys as well. And they can offer you a 2 or 3 year contract. So if Daniel Theis is planning to spend the next 3 years in Monaco, I think it's a good place to be, and you can feel safe about the money, and you know that you're going to compete for titles in EuroLeague in France. So I think it's a smart decision.
You can say the same things about Panathinaikos now. They are offering long-term
now
contracts.
You can say that, yes. Now they are definitely a team that's building with... But as Zogi said, you know that Lessort will be back from his injury. And they still have Yurt7, they have Gabriel.
Yeah, they do. And also, I guess, the coach might play a part. Maybe he had a talk with either of the coaches. He might prefer one way of coaching to the other. Who knows?
He actually met Spanulis in the Olympics. Germany played Greece.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they had some exchanges. They had a chat.
We'll never know.
Dani, I wish you would play for my team one day.
Guys, what's funny, this one thing that we're here to discuss today, that's the main topic of today's podcast, I did not mention in the beginning, in the intro of this podcast. We're doing then an update to our power rankings, EuroLeague power rankings, since there's no EuroLeague action. And because for some reason in January, our boss man, Donatas Urbonas, did not organize a January update of the power rankings.
You think he should get a pay cut for that?
At least a suspension of one podcast.
I mean, he's not here 50% of the time, so...
But we didn't have an update. Now we have an update. We have entered our individual power ranking positions into the power ranking machine one more time. And one more time, it spat out a consensus power ranking that has been updated. And I have also some positions in terms of how it compares to previous... 2 months ago, the December ranking. So,
hey man, but I filled this form and I thought it will stay.
Oh, you don't?
Nope.
You don't know? You don't know what?
I didn't do a print screen.
It's okay.
I might forget something. Do you have that data?
I
with
do.
You?
But he does only have the average position.
We only need the averages. We really need only what is the consensus of the URBONUS podcast, and the consensus number one spot. No surprise, is Olympiacos Piraeus.
Wow, Alba Berlin. Nice joke. It's
a really
joke,
bad
man.
joke. It is the hottest team ever since the last Power Rankings podcast. They went on a complete tear, 10-1 since December 13th. Over this stretch, literally half of their points has been scored by two guys, Sasha Vezenkov and Evan Fournier. Yeah. And I want to know, guys, is this the best or the most dominant duo of players you've ever seen in the EuroLeague?
Wow. I don't know about ever.
All time like this?
I'm thinking about Anthony Parker and playing with Sharas and Vujicic.
I would like to see
that was an insane team, man.
I don't know about duo. I don't care about stats, man. I have good memory. I mean, Anthony Parker was
out of this league.
A superstar. He seemed like Kobe in EuroLeague. I don't want to underestimate what Evan is doing with Sasha, but let's not have that conversation. Okay. I'm just going to say this. Because right now we don't have Kendrick Nunn and Lessort duo. So in this league right now, definitely the best offensive duo is Vezenkov and Fournier. And there are so many different ways they can beat you. Like Vezenkov doesn't need to have the ball in his hands a lot. We know that. Whenever he gets an opportunity, he will score. He's a machine. Evan Fournier plays a lot of pick and roll actions. He has the ball in his hands so many times when the shot clock is running down, and he has the ability to make difficult shots. I think that's what makes him great. Just recently, that game winner against Barcelona, perfect clock management, although at some point it seemed like he lost his dribble, but then he regained it, went to the basket and scored with his right hand. And during this stretch, they had some tough wins, especially against Spanish teams, Barcelona, Baskonia. But they always find a way. They always figure it out. And I think they have so much more defensive potential than they showed recently, because in some games, like Efes caused them problems, Barcelona caused them problems. And it has a lot to do with the fact Thomas Walkup was not available. But look, Bartzokas, after every game, emphasizes that we were without Walkup and Vildosa. But if we look at the double game week in Paris and Barcelona, Nigel Williams-Goss was just balling. He played 33, 34 minutes per game, was a great floor general, great defender, and especially against Barca, when they put Juan Nunez, he just exposed the young guy, like completely exposed him. So definitely the number one in the power rankings without any debate.
I would be very surprised if Olympiacos do not win the regular season, to be honest. They have the number one offense in the last 8 games. Only the 9th defense, you mentioned, they could be better. But they have the easiest schedule out of all teams remaining. They have 5 home games where they have been spectacularly good.
They really
basically don't lose. Their defensive rating jumps by like 20 points when they're playing at home. Wow. Those rims have to do something. They are incredibly tough.
They lost only 2 games at home, right?
3.
Paris
3.
and Fener? Who else? Who else beat them?
2 or 3?
I think it's 3.
Paris and Fener definitely.
I can check once.
Oh, whatever.
But they have 5 home games remaining. They have 3 away games remaining, and those 3 away games are Alba, Asvel, and Virtus. So you're basically, they have clinched the home court advantage. I would be very surprised if they do not finish number 1. And they have everything, man. And when they do not play their best defense, Evan Fournier and Sasha is there to save their day. And the whole team is amazing. They have so many weapons. So
Just 2, right?
Number 1, and I think they should finish the regular season number 1.
Are you surprised at all about Evan Fournier? Did you think?
Ask him.
No.
Ask him.
No.
Myself, I had
guy.
some doubts. I had some doubts because he was sitting on the bench for so long. The last few tournaments for France were not that great. And maybe I thought that he will be a good addition to this Olympiacos team, but I didn't expect him maybe to be top 5 EuroLeague player. Because at the moment, he's the top 5 EuroLeague player.
Yeah, but I still remember to this day, Evan Fournier signs with Olympiacos, and I'm pushing, we need to have a reaction pod.
He was yeah.
I'm like, yo, this is big news. He is a good player. He will change Olympiacos.
What I said? I will expose myself because I did say that. I said just a bench warmer from the NBA came back to Europe. Who cares?
I was like, yeah. I tried 2 or 3 times to push for that reaction pod, just a quick reaction, 10, 15 minutes, and they just kept saying...
People make mistakes.
No, for sure. It's all good.
The way he started, it didn't seem like I was wrong, but then...
The first few months, yes. He was a bit sloppy, but now he's amazing.
Hey, happens. It's all good.
And Olympiacos this way has climbed 1 position up compared to the December ranking. They are now number 1, +1. Second in this list is Fenerbahce Istanbul, who have climbed 3 positions compared to the 5th seed we gave them back in December. Obviously, the only team to beat the super hot Olympiacos. They are also at the moment 1 game behind because they have that game against Paris that they need to play. So technically, they could have 17 wins if they won against Paris. And they lost that Panathinaikos game just recently, obviously after that crazy ending. Could have been on their they really just had that W in the bag. I thought that the ending of that game is just how to not end the game for Fenerbahce.
True.
But generally speaking, after Eric McCollum joined, they've been super convincing. I feel like most convincing we've seen this season. 5-1 since his debut in Istanbul, and 18 points against PAO, 19 points against Real last week, and he's now averaging 13 points in the EuroLeague. Who would have thought? The old man McCollum, huh?
He changed a lot. He changed a lot. He added a lot to this team. And in the first part of the season, they were winning games, but they were really playing some ugly basketball. And now I got to say, they have their fluidity back. The ball movement is there. They play some nice stuff with extra passes, great spacing, always finding an open look, always finding the right man in the right spot. Just recently, they are playing good basketball, averaging almost 90 points per game. I think it should be around 90 if you take the last 6 or 7 games.
Just talking about stats, second net rating, they're in top 4 in both offense and defense in the last 8 games, playing super solid. Their defensive versatility is, to me, that's the most impressive thing from Fener. Sharas always had good defensive teams, but just they can throw at you like 4 or 5 different defenses in the same game, and they will find a way to stop your offense. They will find a way to throw you off and change the game. Offensively, they've been on fire with Eric, Marko Guduric playing in the top shape of the season. Nigel Hayes-Davis doing his thing. And but the interesting part here is, Wade Baldwin will come back.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen that team play well with Wade Baldwin in the roster. So, are they going to figure it out? It's still a question because we haven't seen them playing great with Wade on the court.
On the other hand, though, Wade wasn't playing great when he was the only playmaker or ball handler left on the team. Let's say the one that was supposed to be the primary ball handler probably was Scottie Wilbekin, or at least it was like a 50-50 split. Ever since Scottie Wilbekin went out with the ACL injury, we had this additional role for Wade to just have the ball all the time, and have maybe Artur Žagas come off the bench to get some rest for Wade. But if we have now Eric McCollum in pair with Wade Baldwin, we might see a different Wade Baldwin.
But we haven't seen Wade Baldwin in good shape or rhythm this season at all, because he was always dealing with injuries or just coming back after injuries. So it's tough for the player.
And it's different play style. It's, Sharas wants to play completely different than he played in Maccabi. So that's what I'm saying.
But I think the greatest basketball minds always figure things out. Like, if you have a good player, you will find a solution. I think Sharas will deal with this. He's known for his man management skills, obviously. I just want to add one more thing. Like, Fenerbahce have been great in third quarters. And that's usually a sign of a good, solid team. Every great team in history is very solid coming out of the locker room and playing the third quarter. There were some games where they needed to make a comeback, like against Zalgiris at home, and it's always about the third quarter, which, again, is a proof that they have a good coach. But the addition of Eric McCollum is also important. I think Marko Guduric stepped his game up in the second part of the season, being more of a floor general, a playmaker. I think he had his assist record twice already this season. And their game against Olympiacos away, in my opinion, game of the season for Fenerbahce so far.
All right, let's not get stuck on individual teams, because that's the issue we had last time. We went through 10 teams and it was like an hour in. So let's go on with the third spot, which is Panathinaikos Athens. They climbed one spot up from the fourth we had them at in December. And it's interesting because since then, obviously, something happened. They had major injuries. First, Matthias Lessort played 2 games and then got injured since that power ranking. And then Yurtseven played 7 games, got injured. They are 8-3 since that power ranking. All 3 games they dropped were away: Barcelona, Milan, and Baskonia. And it's obvious that the injuries is one of the talking points we need to touch right away. And Wenyan Gabriel has come in to fill that gap, but where do you see this Panathinaikos without Lessort? Is it still... Because for me, for example, Panathinaikos before the season, with everyone healthy, seemed like the number 1 contender to win the EuroLeague title again. Now I am putting them maybe top 4 lock, but otherwise, I don't know.
I still see them in the Final Four even without Lessort. And if you are in the Final Four, you have to win one game, and you have Kendrick Nunn. He might get hot and drop 30.
Hey, you have Kostas Lukas,
and you have
as well.
Kostas Lukas
in the clutch.
So they can still win the EuroLeague even if Lessort doesn't come back this season. Actually, August didn't put them at number 3, right? Because I did.
I have them number 5, I think.
What convinced me is that they beat Fenerbahce. If they didn't win that game, I would put them a bit lower. They had a poor double game week in Spain with those 2 losses, but I still keep them at number 3.
I already said that in a couple of podcasts. Now without Lessort, I think Pau needs to have a home court advantage to make the Final Four. If they don't have home court advantage, and it's super unclear now, a lot of teams are at 16-10, I don't think they make the Final Four. To me, that's as simple as that. Of course, it depends a lot on the matchup as well. But actually, Clutch Data _ on Twitter had this great stat about Panathinaikos. At home, when they're playing in Oaxaca, they're plus 18 points in 100 possessions. When they're playing away, they're -6 in 100 possessions. So this is the biggest swing out of all teams between home and away, and it's been the story of the season, basically. When they play in Oaxaca, they look super great. Their offense is incredible. They're 130 offensive rating, which is simply stunning. But when they're playing away, they do not defend well. The shot is not falling. I think the difference between 3-point percentages, home and away, is like 47 at home and 32 on away games. So they're not winning away games. And with this roster, without Lessort, I don't think they can actually, win a series in the playoffs without a home court advantage.
I would still wait to see who's their opponent.
For sure.
I get what you're saying, and I partially agree with that. Do you think the lead floor has anything to do with them being so good at home?
I think 20,000 fans screaming at the opponents is a little bit higher on that list,
Maybe that's,
did you get accustomed to that floor when you watched those games? Because the first ones were kind of weird.
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
It doesn't seem aesthetically nice to me. I don't know about
weird
you guys.
how
I adjusted to it. Like the first few games were weird, but now I can say I appreciate it.
It's just weird how they're being lit from the bottom, like from below them. It's if you look at every player when they get a close-up shot of them, you see like this
it seems like they're playing on glass, right?
Well, they are essentially playing
but
on...
just on thin glass, like you imagine, or ice.
Well, anyways, the idea for Panathinaikos is to get those 20,000 from Oaxaca to away games, and maybe the six-player effect is going to help because 11-2 at home, 5-8 away. The only team in the top 5 to have a losing record away compared to the other 4. So it really is an issue with this team. Next up, we have the biggest climber in the whole power ranking with
Rytis' favorite team?
7 spots
Power is
up.
my favorite team.
No, I think this one is the favorite team.
This is weird
Zvezda.
because Zvezda has now climbed to 4th spot in this power ranking. Obviously, they are the second hottest team after Olympiacos. A team with also 8-3 in the stretch from last power ranking to this one. The only game they really shouldn't have lost, I feel like, was against Maccabi. That game away, but really at their own home court.
Maccabi is a strange team. They have this tendency to fuck things up for others. Like they're not competing for anything, but just randomly they beat some teams that are competing for.
That's their goal this season.
Playoffs.
But I'm surprised by you guys because I actually the one guy who everyone says like is a bit more towards Crvena Zvezda in this podcast, myself. The one guy who is like that, I put them at 5. You must have put them at 3 and 4.
I put them at 4.
I put them at 3.
Yeah,
I put them at 4, just below Panathinaikos.
Yeah. Well, obviously they were hot. I'm just thinking, long term. Also, I looked at the schedule. They played against teams that, they won some games that were legit, like winning against the top 5, but also they lost against some like random teams like Maccabi. And in general speaking, like, I still don't see them as a top, let's say, Final 4 lock or anything like that.
No, I mean, we're
so
not talking about Final 4,
high.
but if they make the playoffs, that will be huge already.
Yeah.
The Derby win is super important. Like, I think
for sure.
That's what makes us put them at 3 and 4. Because after that, they just beat Asvel and Alba, and those are, the wins you expect, and it's not like they crushed them. They just got what the W's. I think they're a team that actually made great in-season signings. I think that it worked out for them perfectly. If we talk about the impact Filip Petrushev has on this team, for example, also bringing in John Brown, who's helping the team, and I think they made those good, solid additions during the season. And you look at the roster, and you probably can say that they will have one of the deepest rosters in this league. I don't compare them to Olympiacos, but they do have 14 or 15 players on the roster. And Sfairopoulos, I think at this moment in the season, definitely figured out all the roles, all the rotations, and, he spreads the minutes. You can see players like, again, in the last game against Alba, playing more or less equal minutes.
But against Alba, you
share
can
of the
afford to play
it was
anyone.
just a 6-point win. Well, let's not say that they were like beating them by 20. And I think it's good when you have this tough season, and EuroLeague is also important to you. So it's great to have a deep roster, and they became more solid on defense, in my opinion, in the recent months.
That's what I wanted to highlight.
They're actually the best defensive team in the last 8 games.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't have the stats.
That's why I put them at 3.
It. Okay, because in the first part of the season, my issue with Zvezda mostly was defense. Not only defense, other issues were there as well. But right now, I can see them being a really, really solid mechanism defensively.
They can just throw at you 4 big guys, 4 forwards that can defend, and with Cody Miller, McIntyre at the point, it's super hard to score, especially if you're playing in Belgrade. I put them at 3 just because Monaco has a super tough schedule. Monaco play only 3 home games and 5 away games. For Zvezda, it's complete opposite. They are one of 6 teams that have 5 home games remaining. Zalgiris, Milano, Virtus, Real, Efes, I think those are all 5 winnable home games. Their 3 away games are super tough. The 2 Greek teams and Bayern, which is playing phenomenal at home. But they look convincing defensively. Offensive options are my biggest question. But when you defend teams, when you keep teams at like 68, 70 points, I think you can find just enough different options to beat them by a couple of points. So I think their goal is to get a home court advantage, just like Pau.
But do you see them getting that?
That would be huge. Yeah, with 5 home games, I wouldn't be surprised because once again, all the teams like in that 3 to 8 mix have sort of a tough schedule. Pau, 9th hardest. Monaco, 2nd hardest, Zvezda, 6th, Bayern, 3rd, Paris, 4th. And then you have Partizan and Barcelona, 14 and 15, a bit easier schedule. So with 5 home games to Zvezda,
honestly,
I think they can get
Zvezda
there.
Were not in the playoffs for so many years. Like I think in this format, they haven't made the playoffs ever. So even top 6, I think, would be great. But if they get home court advantage, I would say Sfairopoulos deserves another contract extension.
For sure. And also, I was surprised that Petrushev, after Bolomboy came back, that Petrushev just kept playing the way he was. He actually even became better. I felt like in some games started playing even more like a beast. And those defensive problems with Bolomboy back just kind of became defensive, not problems, but what would be the strengths. Let's move on because we are spending a lot of time on these teams.
Don't worry, from 14 to
we'll skip. Well, actually, might skip the second half of the table because it's just we'll see. But 5th, AS Monaco -2. They were 3rd last time we spoke about them. When we spoke about them, Vasilis Spanoulis had just taken over this team. It was a few weeks in. We saw different play style starting to mold in that team. And I guess now the honeymoon phase is over. They've been 6-5 since then. And what do you think are the reasons Monaco's not been as consistent as we might have expected them to be? And Calathes is back. There's sort of things have fallen back into place, but results-wise, they're 6-5. Dropped some games you don't expect.
Well, injuries played a big part. I think. I mean, of course, Nick is playing, but they lost Lloyd and Okobo. They had to play without them recently, and against Partizan, for example, it seemed like they were lacking options. They started the game well, but at some point, Partizan made the run, and Monaco they were just lacking options on offense. They only scored 69 points at home, and that was an important loss, of course, because Partizan is also in contention for the playoffs. So they are dropping down in the power rankings, which makes sense because they lost some important games. But I think it mostly has to do with injuries, and now they made an important signing. So for the remaining part of the regular season, I do expect them to get enough wins to be in the top 6 at least and make it to the playoffs. But obviously we imagine a team with Okobo, Lloyd, James, and Calathes as having all the star power in that perimeter, and now they played a game where they only have Calathes, Mike, and Strzel. So that's an issue.
Strzel,
and Strzel is awesome. I mean, I don't have anything against him. He's having a breakthrough season, and he deserves a lot of respect. But still, Okobo and Lloyd, very important ball handlers and scorers.
My favorite guy to watch there is actually Alpha Diallo, because I appreciate two-way players the most, and Alpha Diallo, the season he's been playing, probably the best one so far. He's giving me vibes of like a smaller, definitely shorter, but also like more nimble Nigel Hayes-Davis. So I like, he's not offensively, he's not very similar, but in terms of defense, the length he has and the defense he provides, I really like to watch him.
Yeah, one of the best defenders in EuroLeague this season.
I think Donatas made a survey, mid-season awards, and players voted Alpha Diallo as the number one option, to be honest.
Also a great cutter, a reliable spot-up shooter.
There's a little bit of everything, and we like those like those players.
For sure.
And my only issue, only 3 home games remaining for them. And that's Fener, Zalgiris, and Panathinaikos. And you have 5 away games, and second hardest schedule only after Zalgiris. So that is why, to me, that game against Partizan is really costly. But now with Theis, with a break, I think everything is okay with Monaco. They will be in the playoffs, and in the playoffs they can beat basically anybody. Again, depends on the matchup.
Next up, we got at number 6, FC Bayern Munich. They were 6th last time around. They stayed where they were. And
it's crazy.
That is surprising to me.
That is surprising.
Consistency.
German consistency.
Yeah, I actually put Partizan at 6 above Bayern. But Bayern Munich, after the first part of the season, we thought that they're probably going to go down a little bit. They're not going down. They keep the same quality.
I mentioned that like 3 times.
They play exciting basketball. They got really important wins against Zalgiris away, against Milano at home. And that Zalgiris game, for example, I mean, is just a clear view of what Andy Ops can do when he's hot. Like, then he can start making impossible shots. One of the best shooters in Europe.
You picked the right word, impossible shots, because some of those were, I mean, he shot a one-legged free off the dribble and he made that one. Then he got a free where he caught the ball. He didn't do the dip, he just caught it and went straight into the shot. Absolutely amazing. And there were like 2 games in a row where he had like 7 and 6 threes on spectacular percentages. And they can sometimes play solid defense. That has been my main issue, because they don't have a great defense. They rely on making the 3-point shot. It's a huge question mark to me because, making those shots in away games is way harder than doing it at home.
For sure.
I mentioned Panathinaikos shooting percentages home and away. That's like 15% drop. So I kind of see Bayern a little bit similar to Pau, and they actually, I think, in the classification of like teams playing home and away, they're in the 2nd place. But I mean, they're not dropping in quality. They've been solid the whole season, and
I feel like they're just a dangerous team.
They are.
They're a dangerous team.
One of the best offensive teams in this league, actually.
But can you win 3 games out of 5 in the playoff series with this style?
I would doubt that. But as long as they make the playoffs, it's already a big achievement. And huge credit to Gordy Herbert. And also I wanted to give a shout out to Vladimir Lucic, their captain, the veteran player, has been out for such a long time, and his comeback is actually impactful. And in the 6 games he played this season, because he played in the first round, the second round, and then he was out. Out for such a long time.
Lucic always is out usually.
Game week 23 was his comeback, and he's averaging 8.3 points per game, 78.6% 2-point shooting.
That's more about his defensive
12.5
presence,
in PAR, and also the defensive presence and the leadership, the experience, 4.5 rebounds per game. So, it's a great comeback by Lucic.
And now we have at number 7 Partizan Belgrade. So did you say you put them at 6?
I did put them at 6.
Where did you put them?
7th. I wanted to put them at 6, but Bayern has 2 more wins, so I was like, I just can't do that to them.
I think the recent wins they got in a double game week in Bologna and Monaco were very, very solid, and that's what convinced me to put them at 6. 2 good games where Partizan actually played good defense, because especially in the first part of the season,
non-existent.
Defense was not there, and we didn't even see them in the playoff contention. Now they are in the playoff contention. They're playing much better defense, and they have so many options on offense with guards, with centers. Brandon Davis, huge game in Monaco. Sterling Brown, this season he's having. Carlik Jones. I mean, it's just a really, really talented basketball team, and once they start playing good defense, they're getting more wins, and they're climbing in the standings.
And they have the potential to do that, even before
we
the season.
We're talking about them like
as a defensive
before the season when the roster was built.
Yes. Because of the tall players, of the defenders, and they have finally proven that they are able to do so. And again, I'm looking at the numbers. Great graphic by Clutch Data on Twitter. Partizan are actually the best team if we look at the net rating only in the last 8 rounds. Best team. Top 4 offense, top 2 defense. Plus 16 points per 100 possessions. Second is Fenerbahce at plus 13. Playing spectacularly, and they don't have a tough schedule, by the way, remaining, so they can climb, I think, even more. Of course, their only goal is to just make the play-in. Everything else is a bonus, is a plus at this point because of how low they have been in the first part of the season, but they have playing great. And on both sides of the court, I'm really, when I'm watching their games, it's nice to watch their games because of how they defend, but because of also their ball movement offensively. Željko has that team playing the way he wants.
It's probably in the top 4. Obviously, the teams that have a passionate fan base, those 4 teams I usually would watch at home. But at home, their games, the energy is just my favorite thing to watch. So
who you have top 3 teams to watch this season? Just quickly.
Just without, we're talking just basketball-wise or overall?
Overall, top 3 teams to watch.
So I really like watching Panathinaikos.
Okay.
Because of a total
when
package.
They're playing in Oaxaca.
When they're playing in Oaxaca, total package-wise. Paris I really liked in the first half, and now I don't like. After they've been losing, now I'm switching camp.
You like wins, huh? You like wins.
I like winners. Okay. I like winners. Let's call it like that.
So that's why you watch Panathinaikos in Oaxaca only.
Yes. I mean, Pau.
Only those 2 teams?
I like.
Olympiacos? You caught him unprepared.
Olympiacos. Well, how do I put it?
Sasha off ball, Fournier making big shots. You don't like that?
I'm a fan of different basketball, which is weird.
What
probably.
Do you mean different basketball?
Of basketball that's less.
You like more randomness, like Kevin Durant.
I do.
Like Kevin Durant.
I do. I like seeing
Monaco.
Kendrick Nunn pull up. I like to see
less X's and O's, more random.
Oh, this is the guy that likes positive basketball, positive environment. Yeah. Monaco.
Cool.
But don't take it wrong. I mean, it's nice to see Olympiacos' nice flowing basketball. I'm just saying if it's my personal preference. That's all.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
I appreciate that.
Rytis, you? Just quick, top 3.
Monaco. I gotta keep Paris basketball in that top 3, although recently they haven't been that exciting.
Don't do that to me. Don't stab me in the back like Nico Harrison. Okay.
So it's Monaco, Paris, and Bayern.
I like Bayern too.
I will put Paris, Olympiacos, and Partizan or Bayern in the top 3. Well, like top 4, Partizan and Bayern for sure.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay. Where were we? So Partizan done.
8. Yeah.
8, we got a team that we just mentioned, the team that fell from grace from first spot to number 8. That is Paris Basketball, minus 7 positions. Obvious reasons being a losing streak right after a huge winning streak that followed. And I was saying, we'll talk about Paris and their chances in the EuroLeague after we see them face adversity. And adversity they faced in a big way. Last 10 games, Paris have been, let me tell you in a second.
But it was just
4-6.
Yeah. It was just that run since after they stopped that win streak of 10, 11 or how many games in the EuroLeague. They just, I think they had like 5 losses in a row. They lost as well Real Madrid, Baskonia, Barcelona, and Zvezda. And after that, in the 6 games, they have been kind of okay, you know.
I think they beat teams that, they were supposed to beat, that other teams are winning against, and those were crucial wins for them to, let's say, maintain a solid position in the standings. So those were wins against Efes and Maccabi at home, against Virtus away, against Asvel at home.
I think they're showing they weren't a fluke.
Yeah.
Okay, they were.
Okay, of course.
You can't expect them to win 10 in a row.
Yeah, of course they lost to Olympiacos. Olympiacos were motivated. They wanted to get their revenge. Fournier was really up for this game in Paris, so you lost. But other than that, in January and beginning of February, they are fine. And I still expect them to make the play-in.
Like that game against Partizan in Belgrade, they were Partizan. Just as we spoke right now, they are playing top basketball right now. To lose by 6 points when you were the whole game nearby, you were fighting. I think they were playing solid. You just missed a couple of shots. Like I think Nadir Hifi did not have a great game there, if I'm not mistaken. So
I don't know about them making the playoffs. Like securing a playoff ticket directly, I think no chance anymore.
I think play-in.
Play-in, they have Fener twice. They have Monaco at home. Okay, sure. They have Milan. Never an easy game with them. When you never know what's gonna happen with that team. Zalgiris will play them at home.
Toughest schedule.
We'll talk about Zalgiris. Real Madrid at home, or for them is away, and Panathinaikos as well. I just think it is a tough schedule.
They probably need at least 3 more wins.
You think with 18,
you should get at least
18 and
10 seed with 18 wins.
Yeah,
potentially.
I think they will get more than that, but
okay.
I think they have like 19.
Okay.
9th is Barcelona. They stayed where they were. We had them 9th before.
Not much to be
I
said.
had them 11th.
You had them 11th?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Lower. I still had them in top 10 in the power rankings, but nothing new to be said. Again, a team that is kind of boring. You always love to see Kevin Punter playing, but now since they lost Vesely for a long time, there are so many question marks about this team. And
exactly.
Okay, they played a quality game versus Olympiacos. They were so close to winning it. I got to give credit to Dario Brusella for stepping up because they desperately need a guard who can score, a combo guard who could replace Laprovitola, and they couldn't sign a player from the market, so Brusella is now becoming the guy. But still, I mean, I love Punter and Parker, but other than that, it's kind of a boring team.
I agree. We just talked about top 3 teams to watch. Definitely top 3 teams not to watch this season.
Yeah.
As much as I like watching KP.
To be fair, I'm not sure about that actually. Top 3 not to watch. I think we could find.
No, I mean there are
the bottom teams, but
that are way worse. But I'm not too excited.
Definitely.
When I get Barcelona,
the lack of discussion when we are discussing them right now just reflects on it. So let's go on to 10th.
But the quality should also bring them to the play.
Yeah.
You think?
But at the same time, without Vesely, with Willie at center, they have Fall as well, but
they don't play Willie that much. I mean, Jean Peñarroya does not really trust him. From what I'm seeing,
I know why.
Chimezi Metu is probably their best option at 5.
And he'll probably get a lot more minutes now with Vesely out. You know, at the 5, at the 4, because he can definitely play in both positions. So,
but do you guys think it's about the roster they have or the coach they have that is the reason we are not watching this team?
I think it's more about the roster.
Do you think about these players? Kevin Punter is an exciting player to watch. Jabari Parker can be exciting.
Laprovitola was always the player that gives them this spark.
The chaotic genius.
Yeah, and since he's out, they're definitely less exciting. I think their local players are not exciting at all. They are those like
Although Brizella is playing great.
Brizella is now playing
recently.
great, but the role players, I mean, who's excited to see Abrinas and Para play basketball? Like, they're good guys, good players. I mean, Nunez is a youngster who still has a lot to learn. Satoransky, no one's excited to see this methodical playmaking, the point guard who brings the
Only
ball to the
Sharas.
right position. Like,
Sharas is excited.
if it wins you games, fine, but like, who wants to buy Tomasz Satoransky jersey? Oh, I love this point guard who averages 4.5 points per game in 27 minutes.
It is a weird like leftover of what Sharas had built there for years and years, those players that are very Sharas-like, and then these new signings that are not Sharas-like, that don't make sense, the local players. It's just, that's why it's a bit of a mess of a team, I guess. Olimpia Milano, number 10, -2 spots. They made a revival run back in December.
I think exactly Day is the guy who's carrying them in the power rankings.
Carrying them in the backpack.
I think he should check his back during this break because, oh my God.
2 great wins recently against Zalgiris and Pau. 2 great wins, important wins, and they stay in contention. And after this break, Mirotic will be back in EuroLeague, so that's also very important.
And I mean, we all know how Milano operates with those guys playing one-on-one, playing freely. And with Zach playing like this, Shields is getting slowly back into his shape. They still lack at the point guard, at the guard spot.
But Nico Mannion is a solid addition.
Sometimes, not in every game. I don't see consistency.
It's an in-season signing. I didn't expect him to be a superstar, but he helps the team.
They're still battling injuries all the time, like they have been.
That's a classic.
That's what always happens in Milan.
That the game against Efes was crazy.
See, like to me, I see them and it screams like playing max and
definitely.
Yeah.
The next team on the list we got is Real Madrid +3
at 11 spot only.
You had them somewhere. I had them
9th. I mean, I'm way more excited about them than I'm about Barca.
I am more excited about them, but when you rank those teams, you also have to, take into consideration form and the recent performances. And they were really unlucky with injuries. They had a double game week in Istanbul where
2 losses.
Hazonia couldn't play in one of those 2 games because of his suspension. Musa got hurt in first game against Efes somewhere in the second quarter or in the first quarter. I don't remember correctly. All of a sudden, they're so limited. They don't really have options on offense. They played big lineups against Fenerbahce. They played a lot of zone defense. Dennis Smith Jr. is a new guy, and you can see that he still is trying to adjust to European basketball, to Real Madrid culture, the way they play, and it's not easy.
I thought he's going to average 13, 6, and 5.
Maybe he will in the future, but not right now.
Next season, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. So when they play a game without Musa and Hazonia, and also Gabi Dek is injured for a while, well, this team is only on Campazzo's shoulders, and
schedule's not easy either. They got to play Olympiacos away. They got to play both Serbian teams away. I mean, there's Paris at home, but Barcelona, El Clasico, the next game after the break. These are not the games that you would say, okay, so now they're going to make this run into the play-in.
This is where
one win away.
This is where their character is tested. Like, at least get the 10th spot, make it to the playoffs somehow, and prove that you're Real Madrid.
The way it stands now, we might see El Clasico for the play-in spot, for the play-in El Clasico matchup.
If I had to make a prediction about play-in, I think Real Madrid makes the play-in, Barcelona does not.
Okay.
And
you think that's the team that's going to fall out of the play-in picture? Real Madrid will replace them essentially, and the rest will stay as it is? Because I don't see any of the other teams outside right now making it, honestly.
Efes have a crazy easy schedule, but
they don't have Larkin.
I just don't trust them,
And they're 2 wins away. That's also, they have a disadvantage.
No, I just think Barcelona, I think Barcelona gets out and Real Madrid gets in. It will depend a lot on the El Clasico.
Yes.
But I think that one is happening in Madrid, right?
Tell you in a second.
I think so.
But anyways,
and I have to say, Bruno Fernando signing is
huge.
Is huge. Yeah, I think maybe this season we will not see him as a dominant force in Europe, although he's already performing well. Next season, I have high expectations for him. But at the same time, now that they have Tavares, Bruno Fernando, Ibaka, Garuba, if Chus Matela starts playing those heavy lineups, I'm not a fan of it. Like playing Garuba as a 4, when he stands in the corner and pulls for that corner free. And I'm thinking about corner frees in Madrid. I'm thinking about Trey Tompkins and Anthony Randolph, natural shooters, not about Garuba shooting corner frees. So they need Dek, they need Hazonia, they need Musa if they will make it to the playoffs.
And by the way, Barcelona yesterday lost in the quarterfinals of Copa del Rey against Tenerife. And
I was surprised. I don't think so.
8th seed lost against the number 1 seed. That's the way they were paired after the first part of the regular season.
Were they 1-8?
Yeah, because Barca made it to the Copa del Rey as an 8th seed.
Oh, I thought they were 7th.
I thought they were... Well, doesn't matter.
It's okay, I'm checking right now.
Doesn't matter.
No, it's Barca 7th.
Oh, so they were 7th.
And Tenerife 3rd.
So how do you match up 7th and 3rd?
I don't know. Whatever.
So maybe right now they're 7th and 3rd, but
Unicaja is 2nd with the same wins.
But it's right now.
It's probably
It's right now. So the teams were paired when the first part of the season was over, and after that they still played a couple of games and the standings changed.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways, team we mentioned before, Anadolu Efes stayed at 12th spot from December. What do you want to talk about them? I mean,
sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. I don't know, man.
And we are okay with that.
They have quality, and Luka Banki maybe has some ideas, and they had some good games recently against Madrid, especially. But Larkin's absence is huge. Elijah Bryant is having a good season. PJ Dozier is a nice addition. His dunk over Tavares, one of the best dunks of the season.
But generally speaking, it's just alarming for me how Shane Larkin has been out for the last few seasons, for stretches of time. And it just feels like maybe the direction this team needs to think about is... I mean, they did sort of blow out their whole team, their whole core from the championship teams, but they still kept Shane Larkin, some of the core guys... I don't know. There's something, maybe, Shane's contract is huge. He is a great player when he plays, but I'm just saying...
Probably right now you cannot depend on Shane Larkin to win you games as much as he did in the past. It's obvious. But look, Elijah Bryant, Darius Thompson, both guards are having a good season. I think inconsistency is why they're 12th right now.
Their only hope is the easiest schedule they have, but since they have 12 wins and it looks like you'll need to have 18, I just don't see them winning 6 out of these last 8 because the 3 away games they have is Zvezda, Partizan, and Bayern.
Okay, next up,
and I can easily see them dropping a home game. They're so inconsistent.
Next up is Baskonia, who also stayed at the same spot, 13th. Also one of those teams we don't have much to say about. I feel like
they improved in the second part of the season. They were close to beating Madrid. That Hazonia's game winner was very important because
they're playing way better.
If it wasn't for that shot, the standings would look different right now. They're playing way better than they did in the first part of the season. I think Pablo Lasso managed to tweak some things, but other than that,
I think
the top 10 is
they're also messing up
too far away right now.
You said about Maccabi that it's a team to mess up everyone else's plans. Yep. They also at home has this tendency to just, they can win against anyone at home, I feel like.
But then they can lose a random game that will hurt them.
Away, they're losing almost every time. 2 wins out of 12 games away this season. And but I think they're better. Form has a lot to do with EuroLeague rookies playing better. Trent Forrest, Baldwin. They have Luka Šamanić, another option at the 5. He's been helping a little bit, and of course, Chima's been playing really great, especially in the last couple of weeks. Throwing 30 PAR performances But other than that, Pablo Lasso, I think after the last game said that we are still in the race for the play-in. You have to say theoretically you are, but you have to say that as a coach. And their schedule has only 3 games in Buesa Arena remaining, and 5 away games where they are 2-10. So.
Different team is also theoretically in the race, only 2 wins away from the play-in spot. That is the 14th team in our power ranking, -7, the biggest drop out of everyone, together with Paris basketball, to be fair. They were 7th in our ranking, now they are 14th. Zalgiris Kaunas has completely gone into the oblivion.
Off the rails.
Played one half in the last 11 games. Only the first half is what they play, and then the usual story.
You know how they say on Twitter, someone's downfall needs to be studied. Like Zalgiris Kaunas' downfall this season will have to be studied, and there is so much to go into the detail here. But I did not expect that, to be honest. I did not expect that.
No, there were some really bad signals when they lost that Christmas game. Yeah, in Belgrade.
As well before in Maccabi, and you were kind of like, okay, this is
so in 2025, they got 2 wins, but even the games they won didn't feel right.
Virtus
and Alba. Nothing great about those games, except from the W's, but the performances were below par. It's just that Alba were miserable and Virtus just couldn't capitalize on Zalgiris' struggles in the fourth quarter. Other than that, I'd say they had some nice first halves against Olympiacos and Fener, but they didn't win because the second half was so bad. And the fourth quarter was the worst quarter of the season. And I don't know.
Don't go there. Zalgiris had a crazy bad quarters.
Okay, man.
Olympiacos.
So the last game hurts the most probably because you play Milan at home. If you win this, you're still close to the play-in.
You are tied actually for the 10th spot.
Yes, and a heartbreaking loss. You lost by 2 points. It should be 5, but Lonnie Walker hit that free at the end of the game. And I'm just thinking like, Andrea Trinchieri is a really smart coach, a well-respected coach. Not everybody likes him probably, but as a basketball coach, he's really smart. But somehow, doesn't matter what plays he's drawing, in the second half of the game, what Zalgiris do always ends up with Francisco 5 seconds on the shot clock playing ISO. So it seems like you don't even need any sets, any plays. It's just ISO, 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 ISO.
And you just...
Sometimes Walker, but most of the time it's Francisco. And you depend on his brilliant performances to win games. And sometimes it's not even enough because against Bayern Munich, he was brilliant offensively. They couldn't play defense. They lost at home. And the Ops made impossible shots, yes, but he got hot hitting easy shots.
Mm-hmm.
This is what shooters need.
So many problems in Zalgiris. They have the toughest schedule. The only team to have only 2 home games out of all 18 clubs. And they have Paris and Partizan, which are not 2 easy home games. I mean, no easy games for Zalgiris at all with their recent form. One thing I was wondering about a lot in the last couple of days, like without Lonnie Walker, this team was 6-1. Okay, they were overperforming for sure. They were playing great defense. With Lonnie Walker, this team has the same 6 wins, but 11 losses.
Should you put the blame on him?
No, I'm not putting the blame on him, but he has the worst impact on the team out of all Zalgiris players. If we take aside Lukas Lekavicius, who has played, not enough minutes for me to be considered, So not putting it all on Lonnie Walker, a lot of problems defensively, offensively. And I looked up. Kendrick Nunn last season had the same bad impact. Like he had worst impact on Panathinaikos out of all players, together with Luka Vildoza. But the fact was that other guys around Nunn was so much better. Like they were carrying Panathinaikos, and then we saw what Nunn can do in the playoffs. But Zalgiris, I really don't have hope with them anymore. And that's sad because, as I
very
said,
promising,
it
very
needs
promising.
to be studied. Their downfall needs to be studied, man.
I was the one,
You were saying that they will go down.
I said that they're going to go down when they were up, because what I saw is a team winning fourth quarters by Francisco playing iso ball and somehow hanging in there with their defense. There were some comebacks like against Milano away, but
Ridiculous luck.
I thought that they have some luck in the first part of the season. Also, my idea was related to the fact that I understand that the best teams will be better in the second part of the season.
Yeah.
So you're building some credit, but then the second part will be much tougher. And now you see that maybe this team is just, they face their limits. They reach the ceiling, and that's it.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna do a favor for all of us three here and all the viewers.
Just rank
and
those
I'll
teams.
just tell you the last four positions because there's not much to discuss, and we have a few more topics to
I'm
go through.
surprised as well is not higher in
As
this
well as
power
15th,
ranking.
they were 15th. I think it's because someone put Zalgiris higher than you did. I probably did put them at 14.
I put as well at 12.
Okay, interesting. But as well as 15th, Maccabi 16th, Virtus 17th, Alba Berlin 18th. In my eyes, from Anadolu Efes down to Alba Berlin, those 6 teams are not contending for anything. Those 7 teams are not contending for anything this season anymore. For me, it's from Real Madrid up. We can talk about something,
But just from that mix, it's nice that we see Theo Maledon.
yeah, that's nice.
Also, as well brought some other exciting players like an NBA veteran, Andrew Robertson. And they deserve credit. They're not bad this year.
As I said, recently they're way better than Zalgiris, Baskonia, and Efes altogether.
Yeah, but that's our power ranking. Now let's go through some of these other news we've heard. One of them being Patrick Beverley leaving Hapoel Tel Aviv after that whole drama with Dimitris Itoudis. We saw a mutual contract termination. They parted ways, and he was suspended for a while, for the last few weeks, after they had this game where he started the game, he played 9 minutes, got benched, and then he didn't play anymore. And Itoudis was asked, so what happened with Beverley? Why didn't he play anymore? He said, because I'm the coach. I make these decisions. That's it. That's all you need to know. And let's say Patrick Beverley responded in a very Patrick Beverley way. He went on social media and he reacted with some laughing emojis. Like, this is a joke, basically. So that did not go well with the management of the team, with Dimitris Itoudis, who we know has this, let's say he wants to be respected, and then this is a mockery of him. So obviously he didn't
Respect
like
my
that.
authority.
So basically, we got the situation where it resulted in a termination of a contract, I guess. What's your reactions on this drama in Tel Aviv?
Well, I did not really follow that team too much. I know who Patrick Beverley is, and we all know that he's quite a character. So now that he's available, maybe he'll be back in the NBA. I don't know.
He's actually still capable of joining a EuroLeague club until some
26th of February.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's ever gonna happen, but
Do you see a team that needs Patrick Beverley?
Beverley?
Because I'm thinking more about an NBA team, a playoff team, adding an experienced veteran to the roster and signing Patrick Beverley for the rest of the season.
And probably Beverley would command quite a bit of money to get to any EuroLeague team. I'm sure he was getting quite a bit of money back in Tel Aviv. So, yeah, to spend so much money on a backup, he still would be a backup point guard for a EuroLeague team, I feel like.
In Barcelona,
depending on where.
Milano
Depending
could use
where,
him.
yeah. But
Rytis Vysniauskas is, I think, in my opinion, way more likely. Someone in the NBA just grabs him to fill the roster spot in case of an emergency, basically.
yeah, for Hapoel, Tel Aviv is obviously a loss. I don't know how much they valued, his presence on the court compared to his chemistry issues with the coach, what's more important, but they are going to have the playoffs of the Euro Cup. After the break, there's going to be the 8 finals, then they're going to play in the quarterfinals. But they did lose one of the leaders in terms of statistically. And it's funny that Jordan Lloyd came out with a little bit of a message on social media.
I saw that.
Saying that that's why you don't speak about other people's situations, because obviously when Jordan left Maccabi, Patrick Beverley came out with a statement that, this is not right to leave because of
something like you knew where you were going, you knew when you were signing.
You used this as an excuse, but now Patrick Beverley also has used this argument of I think his girlfriend or wife is from Iran. He lives obviously in that region in Israel with someone who's from Iran. So it's
he said it. There's pressure and all that.
Yeah. So
I'm on Jordan's side on this one.
Don't talk shit.
Like why? What? It's not your business what somebody else is doing. It's his personal choice to, let's say, leave Maccabi. Then his family maybe wanted that to happen, and Pat Bev was in no position to criticize Jordan Lloyd.
Yeah. I guess next topic we have is Vasilije Micic coming out with a statement that the reason I came to the NBA was to challenge myself and step out of my comfort zone. I'm not looking back to Europe at the moment, basically is what he said. I wanted to know from you guys, would you see Vasilije Micic in the shape that he has been for the last few years after playing in the NBA, or let's say not playing that much in the NBA, the way we saw him in the Olympic Games? Would you see him still as a star player in the EuroLeague if he came back? He's saying he's not coming back because he has an NBA contract at the moment. But if he came back, would you throw like the same $3 million he was getting in Anadolu Efes a few years ago? Or you don't see that anymore?
Well, I don't see him as the highest paid EuroLeague player right now. If he's demanding 4 or 5 million euros, I can cite 2 or 3 quality players for that money. And what team actually needs Micic to be the alpha right now for them?
Efes.
Because Olympiacos and Panathinaikos, I think they're settled in that department. Efes, maybe, yes. But again, they don't have the budget probably right now to fit in Larkin and Micic together and pay them 7 million per year altogether.
What about a Serbian team?
Maybe Zvezda. He's a Zvezda guy. Going to Partizan would rock the whole country. I don't know. But right now, I don't know if Micic is the same MVP Micic that we had 3 or 4 years ago. So
right now he's definitely not.
He's definitely not there.
But it might be a situation like with Evan Fournier.
I wanted to say that. I wanted to go there. Exactly. But we can't really know.
But it was the same thing, let's say, in the Olympics. Evan Fournier, when he played for the national team, also kind of struggled. Also looked kind of slower, kind of not as accurate of a shooter, all these things. But then as soon as he gets the right role he needs in the EuroLeague, we see that he can warm up to be a 20-point scorer. Who's not to say that Vasilije Micic couldn't do that?
But if Micic joins the league now, and if he gets one of the biggest contracts in Europe, would he still be considered even a top 5 EuroLeague player? Because now you have Fournier, now you have Nunn, now you have Vezenkov back, and then you can talk about the rest. Is he better than Campazzo? Is he better than Mike James, who's obviously a veteran getting older? But I wouldn't risk paying that much money for Vasilije Micic right now, as good as he is. And if his motivation is still to try and be in the NBA somehow, then good luck. I mean, okay, he was in Charlotte and now he's traded to Phoenix. Obviously, he's not going to be the guy running the show in Phoenix, but you're now playing with real NBA superstars, not LaMelo Ball. If he's loving that experience in America, then okay, why not? Maybe he'll get another contract.
I just think he has a solid contract, and
I mean, he definitely he needs to run this contract and get all the money.
Yeah,
it's obvious.
Yep. Last topic I want to touch on is those FIBA windows that neither of you care about too much, but
exactly. Can we leave the podcast? You just finish up the job for us.
Okay, we have 6 minutes.
Let's say
6? No, do it in 3, bro.
3. Okay, 3 minutes.
Okay,
nobody
3 minutes
cares about that.
For 3 nations that do care, those 3 nations being Germany, Greece, and Croatia, let's call it the bigger nations that are at risk of missing EuroBasket. So situations are like this. Germany currently are second with 2 wins, 2 losses. They next play Montenegro, who if they win against, they still won't qualify automatically. They'll need Bulgaria to lose, but if Bulgaria wins, then they play Bulgaria, and that game will determine who's gonna make it. So
basically both games for them are important.
Both are important. Bulgaria has a chance to actually throw out they're the reigning world champs, but not the reigning EuroBasket champs.
But still, they get Theis and the Ops for this qualifying window.
They really took what they had for this qualifier, because obviously, I was surprised that they're at such risk. Because these qualifiers they're weird. Like the way that some teams are qualified with 1 win or with 2 wins, and then others with 3 wins are not qualified yet. It's just interesting.
Hosts that play just for the ranking.
Yeah.
You mentioned Croatia. So Croatia have 2 wins. They can qualify from the 3rd spot. In the 4th, it's Cyprus with 0 wins, and it doesn't seem likely that Cyprus will get any. So Croatia will probably just get there, even if they don't win a single game anymore. So
no, but Cyprus are a co-host, so they qualify. It's about between Croatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Okay, so I just looked at the table and it shows 3 teams qualifying. Maybe I used the wrong app.
But essentially, it doesn't matter between Cyprus. Cyprus is there anyways. It's just about whether they are there over Bosnia and Herzegovina. Also, another team is Greece. So Greece is number 1 right now with 3 wins, 1 loss. But Greece needs to win against... next game is against Czechia, not Czech Republic anymore. Against Czechia, if they win that one, they're through. There's no question anymore. If they lose, the situation is... Let me see who can beat them. Great Britain needs to... There's so many.
Ridiculous competition, bro.
Netherlands can make it if they beat Great Britain. Man,
can we just have EuroLeague expansion so we don't need to watch or talk about this?
I just, when you said that this is going to be one of the topics, I looked at the rosters.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, this shit's happening again. No, I'm not spending any time on that.
But listen, Greece needs to win at least 1 game, and they're good.
Is anyone watching this? Well, I'll be honest. Lithuania qualifying games, I have seen 10 minutes out of how many games they played. 4?
One of them were happening at the same time as the Zalgiris game, so I think I was
maybe not. 10 minutes is exaggeration. I watched 0. Yeah.
I was on vacation actually when the last FIBA window happened.
Couldn't bother less.
I couldn't really care. I looked at the score. Oh, great, they won.
Great. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
that's
now
it.
Even the screen is saying that we should wrap this up.
Cut it. Yeah. Thank you guys who watched until the end, who suffered through the EuroBasket Qualifiers timestamp. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and we'll see you in the next episode, which won't be next week probably because we're taking a little bit of a break. Everyone's going on holiday. It'll be just me and you, and there's nothing to talk about because there's no basketball.
You can talk about FIBA qualifier window that just happened.
No, we can't.
Ask Rytis to watch 4 games.
There are so many better things we can talk about, like great breakfast ideas.
I was gonna say
concerts that you're visiting this summer.
10 best air fryer recipes.
So
that actually intrigues me more than FIBA qualifiers.
Thank you guys for watching.